Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back with another one to talk about week 6 of the NFL season, which ended last night. There was a lot of things that happened throughout the entirety of the week 6 slate in the NFL, and I am going to get into all of that right now. The first game was the for San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks. Now, when you look at this game in its entirety, this was a this was almost like a tale of two halves, really. Because you one half the 49ers were dominating, and if they could have put the ball in the end zone on two of those first three possessions, this probably would have been a much this probably would have been a blowout instead of it being a closer game. But over throughout the season, the 49ers they have struggled when they get into the red zone to put the ball in the end zone. And when you're settling for field goals a lot, even though that helps you, you got to put the ball in the end zone because the touchdowns that'll put you over the finish line. Now, the 49ers, they have a good defense, but you face a dominant offense and an offense that can wear out a good defense, the 49ers might have trouble on their hands. Now, with Seattle, they have been up and down their offensive numbers. They are ranked 14th in total yards, 14th in points, and 17th in third down offense. For the Seattle offense, they were up and down. They've been up and down all season, and you can see in their record they are average. Both teams have the same record at 3-3. But the 49ers, they have a much broader scale of difficulty throughout the rest of the season. To mention the 49ers, they have the Super Bowl champions this week. They playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, rematch of last year's Super Bowl. Let's see how the 49ers fare in that game versus the Chiefs. But all in all, I'm going to say that prediction for another show. But all in all, this was a this was an entertaining game, I can say, because for the 49ers to get down, excuse me, not the 49ers, but for the Seahawks to get down 16-3 at halftime, fight their way back, make a game of it, and possibly would have won the game if it wasn't for that last touchdown they gave up with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So Brock Purdy, 18 of 28, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Geno Smith, he was 30 of 52, 312 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Kenneth Walker, only thing the Seahawks had was 52 yards in the run game. San Francisco had over 200 yards in the run game, to be exact, 228. So you had one run game that was great, and then you had one run game that was non-existent. That's why Geno Smith had to basically throw the team back into the game to make it a contest, because it wasn't a contest before Geno Smith threw all of those passes. So, all in all, this was a entertaining game. 49ers, Seahawks are both 3-3 with with both of their next opponents coming up this week. So, all in all, the Seahawks and 49ers, that was a good Thursday night game. The next game I want to talk about is the Jacksonville Jaguars and Chicago Bears. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, I do not know what is going on as far as a team collectively, and as far as organizational wise. Because when you look at this team and you look at all of the talent that they have on the team, they shouldn't be 1-5. Now, Shad Khan has come out and said that he backs Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke 100%. The fans are starting to waver. I've been around a lot of people, and they are saying the exact same thing. They are saying maybe it's the defensive coordinator, maybe it's the offense. But what I am going to say is that it's a collective part of the team. Now, when a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence gets paid $275 million, he is, and when you get a contract like that, what the quarterback is supposed to do, he is supposed to erase everybody's deficiencies on that team. If you have a lackluster defense, okay, we put it in our quarterback's hands. If you have a lackluster, when it comes to lackluster run game, you put it in the quarterback's hands. Basically, what Trevor Lawrence contract, when he signed that contract, it was basically a contract to say that, Trevor, you need to will us to victory. No matter how dire the situation is, if the running game is bad and the defense is bad, the quarterback has to will his team to victory. Now, I'm going to get on the defense too, because there have been a bunch of sequences on third down where it's been 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14. The Jaguars even gave up a 3rd and 20 in one of their previous games. And if you're trying to have a good defense, you cannot be giving up those long yardage situations on third down. The percentage success rate on completing a 3rd and 20 is only 27%. And even if the situation, third down situation, is longer than that, it is a much lower percentage success rate. But when it comes to the Jaguars defense, it seems like the 3rd down and long situations, they are complete. Opposing quarterbacks are completing them with record efficiency. Because I saw Caleb Williams. He got sacked. He got sacked 3 times, but those 3 sacks didn't faze him. And when you see that, you say to the defense, it's like, what are y'all doing? What formations are y'all setting up? Now, Caleb Williams, he is coming into his own. Like I said, earlier in the season, he was having some struggles, but I said everybody give him time. Like I've been saying, the Chicago Bears are one of my dark horse teams to make it to the playoffs. But all of a sudden now, I'm going to have to throw the Washington Commanders in there, the Atlanta Falcons in there, and possibly, and I do mean possibly, this is a big possibility, the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know that early in the show I was talking about them and they just the average team, but when they get the court, when Geno Smith gets himself together and they get later on in the season and they have to depend on that run game more, I think that Seattle will be a tough outing for anybody come playoff time. But back to this game, the Chicago Bears, all of their wide receivers, tight ends, it seemed like they're getting in sync with Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams, this was one of the most efficient games that he has had since the season has started. 23 of 29, 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And he got sacked 3 times, but like I said, those sacks didn't faze him. Now, as far as the Jaguars, they have a game this week coming up against the Patriots, one of the worst teams in the NFL. If the Jaguars don't win against the Patriots, some changes are going to have to be made within the next 24 hours after the game. So if the Jaguars lose, somebody is going to lose their job Monday morning, whether it's the general manager, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, head coach, whoever it may be. But somebody is going to lose their job because obviously, one thing about it is you signed Trevor Lawrence to this contract. What resources, as far as the offensive coordinator, what resources did the offensive coordinator do to put this team in Trevor Lawrence's hands and for him to have a good season? They got Gabe Davis. You got rid of Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is complaining that he's not getting the ball much in Seattle. You also have Christian Kirk. He is still there. And you also have the tight end that is still there. But tight ends in the Jaguar system, they haven't had breakout games yet this season. So Jaguars, you got a lot of things to do. You have a lot of things to do. Basically, what you have to do is you're almost on the verge of where you have to win out in order to even stay in the playoff race. What the Jaguars has got to do, they got to go on a 7 or 8 game winning streak to even stay pace with being in the playoffs. Because the way that they are going right now, they could be out of the playoff picture by the time Halloween gets here. And Halloween is only in a couple of weeks, if not Thanksgiving. So Jaguars, they got some stuff that they got to change and change quick. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. Now, Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, second game off of his injury, came back, had an efficient game, 22 of 32, 258 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Kyler Murray, 22 of 32, 214 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. When you look at this game, I expected this game to be a blowout. I didn't expect for the Cardinals to score 13 points. I thought that they would be in the single digits, but good job to them. Good job to them scoring 13 points, even though it was in a loss. But one thing that the Cardinals struggled was third down offense. Third down offense for the Packers, they were 7 of 12 on third down. And for the Cardinals, they were 4 of 10 on third down. So one thing about that is the Packers, they had almost 500 yards of total offense. The Cardinals had 300 yards of total offense. This game right here, we knew that the Arizona Cardinals will be a dumpster fire this year, and they would be in a rebuilding phase. But as far as the defense concerned, defense lackluster. They gave up 6 yards per play they gave up 6 yards per play throughout the game. And when you give up 6 yards per play, as far as your opponent in the Packers, they're not going to have too many third down situations when you're giving up 6 yards per play. So as far as the Cardinals, we didn't expect much from them. As far as the Packers, we expect the Packers to be in the thick of things come late December and into early January. We expect that. So this was one of those layup games, I call them, throughout the season, where you know that this team is going to win, and basically the road team has no chance of winning. And that's what this game was. The Packers basically, they were at home. The Cardinals basically had no chance of winning this game, and it showed on Sunday. The next game I want to cover is the Indianapolis Colts and Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, your season is over. I'm sorry to say that. The Titans fan base, you got Will Levis, you're not going to get very far. Will Levis, he might be a bust in the draft. And he didn't come out in this year's draft. He came out in last year's draft. He had 6 games last year, lackluster performances, and then he's had 5 games this year where he has just shown lackluster performances, and he is a turnover machine. He is averaging 3 turnovers a game, whether it's a fumble here or interceptions there. With Will Levis, you're not going to get very far. If the Titans owner, you might need to go ahead and put Will Levis in a trade, because as of right now, he hasn't put nothing on tape that gives the average NFL fan hope that he will be able to last in the NFL for another 2, 3, 4 years. Unless he changes his mindset up, he changes his play style up, he is not going to be in the NFL outside of 2026. Now, I'm saying that. Unless he becomes a career backup, which Will Levis, he doesn't want to be a career backup. He need to change his play style immediately, or else the Titans are going to ship him out of Tennessee. But all in all, the Colts, Joe Flacco, he comes in and he holds down the fort. He held down the fort for the Browns last year, got them to the playoffs. He's holding down the fort for the Colts this year. The Colts, they have a 500 record after 6 games. Can Joe Flacco will this team to the playoffs? Who knows? It remains to be seen. Hopefully Anthony Richardson comes back 100% from his injury, but Joe Flacco, he's doing his part, keeping the team afloat, winning games, and that is what the Colts did on Sunday. The Titans offense is, I'm going to give y'all the Titans offensive stats. Titans offense is 31st in the NFL, and and as far as offensive statistics, 24th in the NFL in total offense, 29th, and third down offense, they are 32nd. So the Titans offense, they don't stay on the field at all. They don't. So as far as the Colts, they did what they came to do. They got them a division win on the opponent's home turf, and they have a home game coming up next. The next game I want to talk about is the Texans and Patriots. Now, I looked at this game roughly because I knew the Texans were going to win this game. But what I saw from Drake May, I don't take much from a rookie's first game. What I saw from Drake May was a quarterback who is really just working out the kinks here and there. But there's a lot of improvement and there's a lot of upside to his performance. 20 of 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Maybe if he don't throw those 2 interceptions, maybe the Texans would have gotten upset and the Patriots would have had an upset win. But all in all, this was a interesting game, more interesting than I think that it needed to be. But all in all, the Texans got this win, and this was a win that they were supposed to get. It really was, because when you see the team statistics, Patriots 3 of 13 on third down, Texans 4 of 11 on third down. So this game was basically the Texans. They scored off of big plays. They really didn't go on third down as much they needed to, because they were getting on first and second down, they were getting 7 yards here, 8 yards here. So when you are averaging 7 to 8 yards per play on first and second down, you're not going to be in very many third down situations. So all in all, this was a good showing for Drake May, for the Patriots to put his game on tape, get him in a game environment and get him out there on the field. And that's exactly what the Patriots did. I believe that the Patriots, what they should have did was start Drake May sooner, because Jacoby Brissett, he is not a long-term quarterback. He's not. And Drake May is the future. So the future starts now in Foxborough, Massachusetts. The next game I want to talk about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. One thing I can say about the New Orleans Saints run defense, it wasn't able to stop anything. It wasn't able to stop anything, because when you look at it, Tampa Bay Buccaneers run game, 277 yards. Then you have Baker Mayfield, 24 of 36, 325 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So when it comes to the Tampa Bay offense is up and down, but Baker Mayfield had more ups than he had downs in this game. One thing about this is, when it comes to the Saints quarterback, even though Derek Carr was injured, but Spencer Rattler, he's still new to the NFL. Spencer Rattler he was 22 of 40, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So when it comes to that, this guy, he's been on the quarterback depth chart for the last year for the Saints. But I'm not going to take too much away from Spencer Rattler in this game. The Buccaneers, on the other hand, as far as defense, they had three turnovers, two interceptions from Spencer Rattler, and a fumble. So the Buccaneers, they had a great effort. They showed a great effort, and they showed a lot of intensity. Now, as far as the hurricane that happened in Tampa, my prayers go all out to people and residents that live in Tampa Bay. I am praying for you, and everybody who watches my show know that I am praying for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So all in all, this was a great game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New Orleans Saints, you've lost 4 straight after starting 2-0. So they are at a crossroads now. Can they turn their season around? Maybe, maybe not. But they got to figure out who is going to be the quarterback in New Orleans long term. And when I mean long term, within the next 2 or 3 years, because Derek Carr, he's got maybe 2 or maybe 1 or 2 more good years left in him. But after that, he might be retired. The next game I want to cover is the Cleveland Browns and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles in this situation, they were lucky to get this game. They were. Jalen Hurts, 16 of 25, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Deshaun Watson, 16 of 23, 168 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And a lot of people are saying if he didn't throw any touchdowns, where did this 16 points come from? Well, I'm going to tell you where those 16 points came from. All 16 all 16 of the Browns' points came from the running game and also 2 field goals. So 1 touchdown ran on the ground. Then you had 3 field goals. Three made field goals. That is where the 16 points came in at. Cleveland Browns were not able to do nothing on the ground. When it comes to the Eagles, Saquon Barkley had 47 yards as a whole, as a team whole. Not the 49ers, but the Philadelphia Eagles had over 100 yards rushing. The Cleveland Browns had exactly 100 yards rushing. Cleveland Browns have had lackluster performances week in and week out since the season has started. Earlier this week, after the game, he said after the game, Kevin Stefanski was asked, would he do a quarterback change? He said no. He still thinks that Deshaun Watson gives them the best chance to win, and he might. But you have a 6-game sample size of what Deshaun Watson has did, and he hasn't done anything right. He doesn't. He has not done anything right. I mean, and plus, in the first 6 games, he has gotten sacked 30 times. 30 times. The Browns don't have a good offensive line. The Browns, they have a decent defense, but the offense cannot put drives together and score. And that is what is going to be the Browns' downfall this season. And particularly, that is what has been the Browns' downfall since the season has started. So, the Browns, they're not gonna make it to the playoffs. They need to start getting ready for the NFL draft coming up in April. And as far as the Eagles still have some kinks to work out, and kinks and cobwebs to work out, because they didn't look too hot either on the defensive side of the ball. So that's all I got for the Cleveland Browns and Eagles game. The next game I want to talk about is the Washington Commanders and Baltimore Ravens. Washington Commanders, that's one thing. There's one thing that I like about the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, he will will his team to victory. And he runs when he needs to run. And like I said earlier in the show, I am going to add the Washington Commanders as a dark horse playoff team. So I have 2. I have the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders as my 2 dark horse playoff teams. Now, this game right here was an entertaining game. I watched the entirety of the game. Derrick Henry, the Ravens, they are getting Derrick Henry more into the fold. He had over 100 yards rushing. To be exact, he had 132 yards rushing. For the Commanders, their running game was non-existent. It was basically Jaden Daniels willing their team to victory or nothing. And the Washington Commanders, I'm going to tell you, They might win the NFC East, if not the Eagles. If not the Eagles, then the Washington Commanders will win the NFC East. Because when you see the dynamic of players that they have, and you see Jaden Daniels, him being able to take off and run when a play breaks down, then you have Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry as they call him. This team can go very far in the playoffs. This is a young and upcoming team, so they still need a little bit more experience. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders made it to the playoffs. As far as the Ravens, we all know that the Ravens, they going to make it to the playoffs, and we expect them to either make it to the AFC Championship game or win the Super Bowl. That is the best and worst case scenario for the Baltimore Ravens at this point in time, and it is going to be like that throughout the rest of the season. The next game I want to talk about is the the Los Angeles Chargers and Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, they are 3-3. Bo Nix had another good game, but the team got down too much early. 19 of 33, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Justin Herbert, this is the first time this season that he has passed for over 200 yards. 21 of 34, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Now, the Chargers, they are a running team. So Jim Harbaugh, he doesn't like his quarterbacks to throw the ball more times than they need to. Now, in this game, the game was so tight, the running game, they had over 100 yards, to be exact, 128 yards in the run game. But the Broncos defense, they have a good defense. So you're not going to be able to run for 150, 200, 250 yards on a well-run Broncos defense. So this game right here, I looked at this game too. Now, where the Chargers won this game was third down. They were 11 of 18 on third down, and the Broncos were 3 of 11 on third down. So that is where the Chargers won this game, and that is where the Broncos lost this game. I always say there are moments in this game where you can win it and you can lose it. And plus, with the Chargers averaging 6 yards every play, that puts the Broncos defense at a disadvantage. So after 6 or 7 yards per play, you're dealing with a lot of 2nd and 3s, 2nd and 4s. So that puts your defense at a disadvantage right there. They're not able to bring enough pressure to the quarterback like they should if he was on a third down, if he was in a third down and long. So congratulations to the the LA Chargers and the Broncos. You have a chance to make some noise with the Broncos. They can get on a winning streak too, because the team, they rally around Bo Nix, and Bo Nix is the real deal. The next game I want to cover is the Pittsburgh Steelers and Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Justin Fields had a decent game. 14 of 24, 145 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Aiden O'Connell, 27 of 40, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I thought this game was going to be close. It was close for about 2.5. It was close for about a quarter and a half. And then that's when the avalanche of Raider mistakes started to happen. Because after halftime, it was 9-7, and I was looking at this game, and I was saying maybe the Raiders can pull this out. But then Aiden O'Connell threw an interception. Raiders fumbled the ball twice, and then the game was basically over from there. As far as the Las Vegas Raiders, we know that they are in rebuilding mode. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they hang their head on defense. What they have is Justin Fields. They give him a perfect playbook. They tell him, don't go out there and cost us the game. And he is always put himself in the right position, and he doesn't throw too many interceptions. And that is why the Pittsburgh Steelers, they usually settle for 3 points. They hardly ever get touchdowns. If they get touchdowns, then it was on a good drive, or they probably got a defensive touchdown. But all in all, this game went how I expected it to go. I expected the Pittsburgh Steelers to run away with this game eventually, and they did just that. As far as the Raiders are up and down. They have no consistency at all. Davante Adams, he wants to get out of there. And the Raiders, this is just a season where they just need to get ready for the draft in April. That's all. The next game I want to cover is the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. I don't know what, as a Cowboys fan, it was tough. It was tough to see that. It was tough to see the Lions go down the field and basically not give a damn about what formation the Cowboys was lined up in. I mean, this game was such a blowout. You had 3 offensive linemen basically get a play call for themselves. Dak Prescott. When it was 7-3, and I said to myself, I was like, Dak, he can't throw an interception here, and the Cowboys cannot fumble the ball. And immediately as I said that, here comes the interception. And I believe that was basically the game right there. Because if the Cowboys would have scored a touchdown right there in the first quarter, the game would obviously, it probably would look a little bit different, because Cowboys can't stop the run, can't run the ball, can't stop the pass. They can't get a pass down the field more than 15 to 20 yards. And then the offense is basically inept when it comes to the running game, because they had 53 yards rushing. The Detroit Lions had almost 200 yards rushing. To be exact, they had 184 yards rushing. But the Cowboys, when you look at the Cowboys, is there I don't see any enthusiasm coming out of the Cowboys fan base. And even as a Cowboys fan, I can raise my hand and say that with this team, we ain't going very far. We may, the next 5 games, it's basically the Cowboys season right there. Your season is pretty much on the line every week between now and the end of the season. Because the next 5 games, you have Houston, you have Washington, you have Philadelphia, you have the 49ers, and then you have the Houston 49ers, the Eagles twice. You have the Eagles twice. Then you have the Giants. The Giants, they are a team that is reckoned with. So those upcoming 5 games will determine the outcome of the Cowboys season. As far as the Detroit Lions, this is how they play football. They will run you down. They will wear you out on offense. They have one of the excuse me, one of the biggest offensive lines in all of the NFL, and this game was over at halftime, because at halftime it was 27-6. It was 27-6, and I'm saying to myself, you saw Cowboy fans leaving the stadium. You saw Cowboy fans leaving the stadium at halftime. You don't usually see that. I never saw that. And one thing about it is, I know that it's like with Jerry. What did he do all off season? He was saying that he was all in, but this is not being all in. You can't pay these guys. You can't bring top-notch talent in and think that you can just pay them the veteran minimum, because they not going to stand for that. So as far as this game, this was basically a blowout that was really over after the second quarter. So Dallas, you got a lot of things to work on. You got a bye week coming up this week. And for the Lions, I expect them to be one of the last teams standing in the NFC when we get to the playoffs. NFC divisional round, NFC championship game, I expect the Detroit Lions to be there. Now, it remains to be seen if they are going to be there. But from what I saw on Sunday, wouldn't be a surprise if they are hosting the NFC championship game. The next game I want to talk about is the Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers. This game, basically, Panthers are a dumpster fire. We already know that they are basically in tank mode because they're not going anywhere. And Kirk Cousins, 19 of 30, 225 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. They had an efficient, and I do mean efficient day on the ground, the Falcons. They had 2 touchdowns on the ground. No, 3 touchdowns on the ground. And 1 through the air with Kirk Cousins. So the Falcons, they could be another team too that I am going to put as a dark horse for making the playoffs. I have the Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders, and officially now the Atlanta Falcons making a dark horse run to the playoffs. So this game right here, you know that this was basically 2 teams going in opposite directions. They have the Atlanta Falcons average 6 yards a play. The Panthers average 5 yards per play. And obviously Panthers, they're not gonna go anywhere in the playoff. They are not going to go anywhere. The Panthers season is over. I wish that I couldn't report on the Panthers, but hey, this is my job, and hey, since the Panthers are a professional football team, I have to report on it, even though at times ownership and the GM don't act like they are professionals. So, as far as the Atlanta Falcons, they have a good team and a team that can really make some noise. Over the last 2 games, they've won against Tampa, a divisional opponent. They won against the Panthers on Sunday, another divisional opponent. They have first place in the division after 6 weeks. It's just the yellow brick road to the playoffs for the Falcons if they are able to hold up. The next game I want to talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals and New York Giants. I'm going to say this. The Giants' offense is just bad. It really is. Daniel Jones, 22 of 41, 205 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Joe Burrow, 19 of 28, 208 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. This game was basically, it was putrid. You had putrid offense, and you had subpar to lackluster defense on both sides. But hey, in a game like this, somebody got to win it. I'm not taking much away from this game when it comes to the Bengals because I know who and what the Giants are as a football team. They are a below average football team that can win 2, maybe 3 games here and there, give their fan base some hope, and then come out and lay an egg on Sunday Night Football. And that's exactly what they did. And as far as the Bengals, obviously from where they started out, being their last 3 games, they've won 2 out of their last 3 games. Can the Bengals make a run? Obviously they can. Will they? I believe so, because next week, this coming week, they play the Cleveland Browns, and I think the Cleveland Browns, they'll be able to win that game. And for the New York Giants, they might just wet the bed the rest of the season because you're 2-4, and you got a tough road ahead, going against Philadelphia twice and going against the Washington Commanders twice. And Washington, like I said earlier in the show, they have a top-notch offense and a team that is a force to be reckoned with. And the last game I want to talk about was the game that happened last night. Monday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. This game right here, the New York Jets had a lackluster performance. They really did. Also, when it comes to the New York Jets defense, they had trouble getting the Buffalo Bills off the field consistently on 3rd down last night. They had the lead once in this game, and after that, they didn't have the lead anymore. Josh Allen, 19 of 25, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 35, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Breece Hall, he had a good night. He cracked over 100 yards. Buffalo Bills rushing, they had a good night. All 3 of their runners had a good night. Cracked over 100 yards. To be exact, it was 149 yards in the run game for the Buffalo Bills and 121 yards for the New York Jets. Where this game took a toll, where this game went into the Buffalo Bills' favor is the New York Jets' turnovers and 2 missed field goals. And as far as penalties, both teams had the same amount of penalties, but the Jets had more penalty yards than the Buffalo Bills. When it comes to what they did, both teams had the same amount of yards per play. They both averaged 6 yards per play. 3rd down efficiency was pretty much the same. 5 of 11 for the Buffalo Bills. The New York Jets, 4 of 12 on 3rd down for the offense. When you look at this game in its entirety, the Jets were only 2 or 3 plays away from winning this game, because outside of the Second quarter, the Buffalo Bills really didn't do anything on offense last night. And that's basically where the New York Jets lost the game. They lost the game because of 2 missed field goals, 3 turnovers, 2 turnovers, and as far as coaching, they lost the game because of coaching. So those were 3 mishaps that the New York Jets had. That's the reason why they lost this game. As far as the Buffalo Bills take sole possession of first place. This is the first time with the Buffalo Bills that they have sole possession of first place this early in a season ever since the 1990s when they had the K-Gon offense with Jim Kelly and Andre Reed. Now with this game, the Buffalo Bills, they are on a game and a half up on everybody. A game and a half up on everybody in this division. So the Buffalo Bills, pretty much, I believe that they are going to win this division by default, because the New York Jets, we don't know what we're going to get from the New York Jets. Patriots, we know they are dumpster fire. And the Miami Dolphins, they are on the verge of losing their playoff spot. So the Buffalo Bills are going to win this division by default. And I would be surprised if anything else happened differently. And with that, those are my reactions from week 6 of the NFL season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. And also follow Key City Sports on TikTok. And remember one last thing, the key is always on time.